Hello and welcome to Gardening at 58 North. So in this video I'd like to give you guys an update on my sunflowers here. So I think the last video I did was sometime around March, probably the beginning of March or middle of March, and what I was doing is I was collecting all the old seeds from the flowers that had bloomed last year, and there was a whole variety of different sunflowers, so they would have cross-pollinated with each other. So the seeds from them have a whole different variety than the parents. There'll be a kind of a mixture between all the different parents. So I thought I would sow all those seeds, see what comes up. It'll just be interesting to see what kind of flowers they get. So I sowed them, as I say, about mid-March, and this is the result now. It is now mid-June, and they've done quite well. We've had a lot of rain this year. It's been really quite a cold, wet start to the year. Unusually it was very warm in March and April, so these had a good head start. And then the whole of May's been kind of wet and cold, and the whole of June's been quite cold as well. For example, today's only about 12 degrees. It's a mixture of heavy showers and sunshine, but at least we're getting some sunshine now for their growth. And you can see they've grown quite a bit, and it's already interesting to see quite a few different varieties already starting to come through. You can see quite a few differences in them, so I'll just go through them now. I'll also show you a few pictures before I go through the varieties, and I'll show you what it was like. I've done several visits since. There was loads and loads of seeds that germinated. I mean, I put down far more seeds than I needed because it was so early in the year. I was a bit worried that frost might kill some of them. Also, I was worried about slugs and snails eating off the plants, or even birds eating the seeds. So I put down a lot of seeds, and I'll show you a clip now of how many seeds grew, and I'll show you some pictures of before and after thinning them. And I've thinned this, I think, 2 or 3 times now, but I've now got to the stage where I'm happy with how many plants there are. So as you can see from those previous photos, there was hundreds of different sunflowers coming up, and I've thinned them out quite nicely now. So this is about this level I want them at. If I did want really big, giant, tall plants, you know, plants that would go right up to the top of the building, I would thin these out a lot more, give them a lot more space. But I'm really wanting a good flowering display. I'm more interested in a good display of flowers than having the biggest possible sunflowers that I can get. So that's why I've left it quite well planted up. As I say, it won't get as big, but I'll have a lot longer display of flowers, and there'll be a lot more flowers as well in total. Because often the giant sunflowers, depends on the variety, but they often only have one flower. So I'll go along here. You can see most of them aren't actually coming to flower yet, and as soon as you see the flower head, such as this here, they do put on probably another foot or so of growth, but you know that they're not going to be super giant ones. They're only going to put on probably about another foot until they're finished. Whereas this one, as you can see, is the same size as this one. There's no sign of flowers yet, lots of new leaves coming, so that one will grow at least another 2 or 3 foot before that's finished and ready to flower. There's a few others here, and they're also, you can see most of them don't have any flower buds yet. As I say, there was a variety of sunflowers. Some of them were giant with just single heads, other ones were giant and multi-stemmed. I also had some red varieties as well, and also some dwarf varieties, so it's a real combination. Looking at this, it looks like mostly the larger ones are coming through, with a bit of the smaller ones as well. So this is one of the smaller ones. I think this could be a red one. Generally with the red flowering plants, you tend to have dark veins. So you can see on the veins here on the leaves are quite light, just a light green. The veins here are almost black, they're very dark. So this should be a red coloured plant. I think there's another one here that looks like it might well be red, and I'm not sure there's going to be a flower bud yet, but that one over there certainly is starting to flower already. The original red variety I had was multi-stemmed, and it wasn't giant, so this should have side stems. And in fact, you can see this one here, if I can get that in focus. You can see that little bit there, that's the side stem just coming on that. So once the main flower's finished, this should start branching. This should have lots of little flowers. I'm hoping most of these have managed to inherit some of the multi-stemmed genetics from some of the other plants. Just coming along here, looks like we might have some smaller varieties here. See, these are coming to flower already. They're quite dwarf. It's interesting to see that some of them have a bit of a dark vein on there, so there might be a bit of a darker colour. It doesn't look completely dark like it is on the red variety, so I'm wondering if this is going to be somewhere between red and yellow, maybe an orangey colour. Same with this one, it's a darker one. So it'll be nice to see the good kind of variety of small ones and large ones. And what I've also done is I've underplanted it with Californian poppies. So it was a mix of seeds. It's basically just a single packet of seeds, but it said mixed colours, so I'm not too sure what's going to come up. But you can already see we've got kind of a pink one here. I've not really seen the pink Californian poppies before. We've got the more classic kind of yellowy orange colour there as well. And then the one that I think of as when I normally think of a Californian poppy is kind of the bright orange, so we've got that one coming through also. There's also a creamy white one. I'm expecting kind of there might be a variety between white and orange. It'll be interesting to see if there's any more pinks though, because I've not really seen pink Californian poppies so often. They're not quite as common as the orange and yellow ones, so it'll be nice to see them come up. And there's one or two sunflowers that have come up a lot later. So you can see here, I might just leave these because these might give some really late flowering if we have a mild autumn. There's some more back here as well. So most of these multi-branching sunflowers should last quite a long time. They should flower probably in the next month or two. And if I remove the first main flower and it doesn't put its energy into seed, it will send out lots of side branches and then it'll flower probably for another couple of months. So that should take us into September. With the single ones, if we have ones that don't branch, then what's going to happen with them is that once they flower, they'll put all their energy into seed and then they'll die. Even if I cut off the main flower, what happens is if they're not a branching variety, they won't grow anymore and they'll just slowly die off. So these late ones could be useful if we have a warm autumn, October, November. We might still get some plants surviving. Good thing is with this wall is it's south facing, so if it's a milder autumn and we're getting frost but only about -1 or -2, these plants might well survive because it's next to a south facing wall. It will absorb the heat from the sun and it'll give out a little bit of that heat, and it will give the plants a bit of protection from the frost. So we might be able to get some going into October, November, but we'll just have to see. As I said, that's what some of these later ones at the bottom would hopefully do. And some of the branching ones, if they've got good genetics and they're going to branch thoroughly, then they should hopefully flower for quite a long time. I find with the branching ones, what happens is they get weaker with every successive flowering. So what happens, you get one giant flower, then all the side shoots come out from where the leaves are. So you can see here, that's where the side shoots come out from. Those side shoots then produce smaller flowers in the main one. If you're lucky, then those side shoots produce their own side shoots and have a further flush of flowers. And if it's a really good genetics in the plant, the side shoots can keep having more and more side shoots, and you can get loads and loads of small kind of little sunflowers. They do tend to get smaller with every side shoot that gets produced, but you get loads and loads of flowers. It lasts for months. So I'm hoping some of them have got the really good genetics for that, and will have a really good branched plant. I do get that with the Kong variety. The Kong was one of the parents, I think, in last year, and that branches really nicely. This one here looks very much like it's got Kong genetics. It's got really big, large leaves. It's not flowering yet, so it's going to get quite large. It's quite a stocky, thick stem. Kong has really thick stems as well. So this one might have that branching habit too. But it's interesting, there is a bit of darkness on the stem, so it'll be interesting to see if there's any of the red genes from the red sunflower getting into this one. We could get a Kong F1 kind of style sunflower with large heads, thick stem, multi-branching, but possibly a bit more orangey in colour instead of a bright yellow. So that's about it for this update. I will be giving you guys an update in probably a couple of months' time when we get the first flowers on these. I'm hoping in just 1 month's time we should get flowers on these red ones here, because these are already starting to bud up nicely. I'm hoping we're going to get some slightly warmer weather. The rain this year has been good, hasn't stunted them like it did last year with the drought, so they haven't had any water problems, because being so close to a building here, it really does get quite dry. You can see it was torrential rain just a few minutes ago. We're having heavy showers, ground's wet, but underneath here with all the leaves on the plants and being next to the wall, you can see quite a lot of the ground is still quite dry. So even though it's heavy rain, the rain doesn't really get down to the roots. So I'm hoping that even though it does get quite dry, and if we have some dry weather, that ground will dry out really fast. I'm hoping that because these plants are quite large now, the roots will be established, the roots will get down deep into the soil, and even if we do have a drought, they should be fine. And anyway, some flowers are quite drought tolerant. Normally the drought doesn't kill them, but it does stunt the growth. They will flower earlier and they won't get to their eventual full height. Also this year I put up, as you can see, some bamboo canes and some twine. That's because last year we had a storm around about, I think it was June or July, about 50-mile-an-hour winds. All the plants got blown over. Some of them came back up, but a lot of them didn't, and that really stressed them, and they never got the full height because of that. So this is just going to provide a little bit of strength to the plants. I might individually stake some of the larger ones later on, but at the moment there's far too many for me to individually stake, and I have got some quite nice long bamboo canes. These bamboo canes look about 6 foot, but they're actually 7 foot up, or maybe 8 foot. I've put them quite deep in the ground to make sure they're strong. So they are quite long bamboo canes, which can be used for the taller varieties. As I say, we'll just have to see how big these get. Some of the big ones should probably need staking, especially if they've got some of the genes for tall plants but skinnier stems. So like this one here looks like quite a tall plant, but the stem's a lot skinnier, so that might need staking in the future. As I say, it'll probably be about a month until the next update. Hopefully we'll get that red flower open by then. I might get 1 or 2 other ones starting to bloom as well.